throughout much of the Western world as one of the leading sopranos of the Metropolitan Opera Company. But in the Far East, where she toured a little over a year ago, she is now known as the primitive Donna in Saigon, and in Hong Kong as #1 sing-song girl USA, both descriptions being a personal compliment from many who had never seen or heard an American opera star before. While in Indochina, Miss Steber was introduced to an Army information officer stationed there, and now she and Major Gordon G. Andrews are husband and wife. When they're in New York City, Eleanor Steber and her husband, Major Andrews, stay in a studio apartment in this building in Midtown Manhattan, only a few blocks away from the Metropolitan Opera House. They also have a home on Long Island. Evening, Eleanor.
Good evening, Ed.
Evening, Major.
Good evening, Ed. How are you?
Fine, thanks. I imagine that you must rather look forward to an occasional evening away from the opera when you can just relax and don't have to sing.
Well, I certainly look forward to those evenings, and I have been looking forward to this one especially. As far as singing is concerned, you know, Ed, I sing all the time. As a matter of fact, I've been known to sing at the drop of a hat, and I've gotten quite a collection that way.
I've heard that sometimes you even sing in a taxi cab. Is that right?
Yes, I think I have a distinction of singing to more taxi cab drivers in New York City than any other criminal.
Well, the cab driver who gets tied up in traffic and has you as a passenger can almost save himself the price of admission, can't he?
Well, I have been known to get almost through a complete opera between Idlewild and New York.
Do you sing much at home?
Oh, yes, I sing all the time, really, I think.
Major Andrews, any complaints from the neighbors?
No, not at all, Ed. As a matter of fact, I think that if we were to open the door, we'd find some watching and listening.
Well, Major, your Army duties and Eleanor's traveling must frequently keep you apart, doesn't it?
Well, no, actually, they don't, although I must admit, just before we were married, I said to Eleanor, now, I definitely am not going to follow you all around the United States nor around the world. And then, of course, the next day I got on a plane and I haven't missed a performance.
Tell me, were you an opera fan before you met Eleanor?
No, Ed, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you, I've probably had the greatest concentrated education in the field of opera of any individual during the past year. I must say, however, of course, I'm the #1 fan of Eleanor Steber. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is our study here, and this, of course, is the desk where Eleanor does much of her work, and over here is mine. I have the opportunity of taping much of the work that Eleanor does, both on radio and television. It's really a very great pleasure.
Ed, you know, we have quite a number of souvenirs from our trips, and I don't know whether you happen to notice this one, but
yes?
It's a lovely screen, a Chinese screen that I bought in Hong Kong. It's the largest souvenir that I brought back.
Beautiful.
It is, as you know, a chance. The world tour that I made was quite a exciting and wonderful trip. I think I have the distinction of being the first European singer, first Western singer to go on a long, extended tour of 33 concerts in 3.5 months in 17 countries throughout the world.
Eleanor, those singing tours must take a lot out of you.
Well, this was a really, really strenuous trip. We were going constantly, and it was really rugged. Of course, the way I kept up my strength was by eating. I assure you that when you sing an opera or a concert, that it takes as much energy as it does a man to dig a ditch. And you can't do that on a lettuce sandwich. So I go for the meat and the potatoes.
Tell me, who's the cook in the family?
He is.
Well, as a matter of fact, Ed, Eleanor really is a magnificent cook. Her German background provides her the ability to be able to prepare marvelous German meals, and to say nothing of this magnificent West Virginia fried chicken.
And you should taste Gordon's wonderful gumbo Creole. It is magnificent.
Your trip to Asia must have been exciting. Did you get to do very much sightseeing?
My sightseeing had to be limited because I was making side trips in order to get to more local people than I was in the the concerts that were already set for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to go to places like the University of Dhaka and do lectures and things of that sort, so that it really doesn't I saw a lot of things, but in the nature of duty, as it were.
Eleanor, that picture behind you, is that your way of relaxing off stage?
Well, horseback riding is one of my hobbies, but that picture is actually a picture of me as Minnie, the girl of the Golden West. It was taken in Florence, Italy, when I did it a few years ago, and it is one of my favorite roles. I'm going to do it at Denver, at Red Rocks, this summer. And who knows, maybe some one of these days I'll be riding on to the Metropolitan Opera stage as Minnie.
I was just wondering how, with your impressive list of roles, you happened to miss that one.
Well, I don't know, but I'd like to show you a collection of figurines that I have gotten together for some of my roles. Oh, but before, I would like to introduce to you a member of our family. Paco, come here. Look here. Come here. I want you to meet Paco, our wonder dog. You know, he's a thespian. He's been in opera, too.
Has he?
As a matter of fact, he did... here, boy, say hello to Mr. Morrow.
Hello, Paco.
He did Rosencavalier and stole the scene from the tenor. Over here I have some figurines of characters, some of my roles. Here's Fiordiligi, Così fan tutte, Mano Let's Go, Traviata, Arabella, Marschlin in Rosencavalier, André Chenier. Here I have a portrait done by Mr. Bill Fields of Fayetteville, North Carolina, of myself as Fiordiligi in Così fan tutte.
Oh, it's lovely. Eleanor, of the many roles you've sung, which is your favorite?
Well, the favorite role is the one that I am doing at the present moment. And speaking of that, would you like to have an impromptu concert?
Very much.
Well, you know, my most recent role has been Marie in Woodstock, which
Yes.
we did at the Met last week as a premiere. And while I've been studying the part, it also seems that Paco has been learning the score, too. Paco, would you like to play some Woodstock for me? Bravo.
Bravo.
Have his caviar afterwards, you know.
Bravo. Very unusual. Tell me, does Paco play by ear?
I think he plays by eye because he always likes to have me turn the pages. Sometimes he plays duets with himself with all four paws.
He certainly creates a different sound. Incidentally, to get back to your tour for a moment, there's quite a difference between Oriental music and the music we're accustomed to hearing in our part of the world. Did that cause you any difficulty?
It gave me some reason to wonder what I should do about interesting the audiences in the Orient. So the only thing that I could discover was to perhaps try to bridge the gap by singing some arias and songs in their language or some of their folk songs. So that when I was in Japan, I sang a Japanese folk song, and I sang a Mandarin folk song. And where I could not sing the language, I learned many of the stock phrases so that at least we were able to speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is one of the important things, I believe, in contacting and making a contact, a human contact with the people on the other side of the world, is to give them a feeling that you really want to learn to know about them at the same time that they are learning to know about you.
Major Andrews, would you say that Eleanor proved herself a fairly good American ambassador?
Well, I'd say an excellent one, Ed, and I think that the work she did on her tour was simply magnificent. And of course, that brings me into the subject dearest to our heart, and that is we plan to make another trip. We had the wonderful opportunity last week to speak at the White House with President Eisenhower on this subject, and that is the subject of the People-to-People program, with which I know you're familiar.
Yes, I am.
And of course, we feel that every American is a diplomat, and every American is an individual public relations representative. And as such, when they go overseas, they carry with them the goodwill of the United States, and they carry with them something which is very dear, and that is that they must behave and act in the manner in which we want them to act. And that goes for members of the military, it goes for the secretary who saved up all of her life to go to Europe, and it even goes for opera singers.
We're hoping to make that trip, Ed, in a very near future, and this time we want to extend it much, much farther along. And of course, we intend to go back to that romantic place, Saigon, because that's where we met.
Well, I hope you have much luck and a very pleasant trip. Eleanor, just for the fun of it, have you ever been asked by your friends to break into a little rock and roll?
Oh, Ed, I don't dig that very well.
You don't?
But I do jitterbug a little, and I do a mean Charleston.
Well, you wouldn't like to try a little Charleston for us right now, would you?
Oh, well, maybe sometime later on.
When we come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eleanor. Thank you, Major.
Good night, and thank you.
It's been so nice for you to be with us.
Good luck on that next trip through the Orient.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for letting us come. Good night.